Hi, everybody. On this 19th day of January, I thought I'd give you kind of a checkup as to where we are this winter or rainy season. You know, we think of the rainy season as basically being in Portland November 1 through the month of March, and it's halfway through January. So we're a little bit over the 50% point. The water year, of course, starts back October 1st and goes through September 30th. Why? Because that coincides with our snowpack up in the Cascades. So where are we? Well, most of the news is pretty good. So the water year going back to October 1, this includes through midnight last night out at PDX, 19.92 inches of moisture, almost 20 inches. And that's actually for the date about an inch and a half above normal. So we're doing okay. Mount Hood snowpack, the news not as good, 84% of normal. Not horrible, but clearly we need to start getting some big snowstorms. This has been going down over the last several weeks when we really haven't had that many, good 12-inch events up in the Cascades. So obviously there's lots of time to make that up. No concern right now, but we need to get going a little bit. Total PDX snowfall, we had a couple of frivolous dustings of snow so far this year. Back in December, for example, was the first one. We've had less than a half of an inch of snow altogether. Nothing unusual there. East wind days, this is highlighted, and this is probably the number one talker of our winter season so far, especially for folks that live out near the gorge in East Clark and East Multnomah County. So if you go back to November 1st, in terms of a dominant east to southeast wind flow coming out of the gorge into the valley, 49 of 79 days have had the east to southeast wind. And this time of the year, as you know, that is a cold wind. And get this, these are peak wind gusts out at the airport. Each one of them was an east wind direction. November, peak wind gusts from the east, 49 miles per hour. December, peak wind gusts from the east, 48. January, that was back earlier in the month, of course, peak wind east at 51 miles per hour. So this has been, it's not record stuff, but it is unusually high, the number of east wind days and really the number of gusty wind days we've had as well. We've also, not featured here, but we have also seen a number of south winds that have been gusting at a pretty good clip. Okay, let's break this down and go month to month. Again, these are site specific to PDX. November, 5.17 inches. That was just a little bit below normal for the month, about a quarter of an inch, so we'll call that good. December, this was the whopper. Remember the last week or so of the month, we just got hit with heavy rain. 7.76 inches of total moisture. That was just about 2 inches above normal. January, so far, through midnight last night, 3.11 inches, running pretty much normal for the month, as you can see. So our water surplus to date, if you go back to November 1, largely due to December. December was about 2 inches above normal. The water surplus is 1.80. So thanks to December, or we would be running below normal in the precipitation category. But right now we're doing okay. Monthly numbers real quick. November was cold. These were mean temperature averages. So the mean is you go through, you average out the high, the low, basically gives you what the average temperature was for each 24-hour period. We were up more than 3 degrees below normal for for November. December, not quite as cold, but nearly 3 degrees below normal. And so far, January's flipped the table, and we are running a big fat 4 degrees above normal. Now, this is going to drop off because the current 7-day forecast has lots of dry time in it, and that will lead to us getting back into some freezing nights. And if you hit freezing and you stay in the 40s this time of the year for daytime highs, which would be pretty common, those days will average out below normal. So I expect us to really lower that at least by another degree or maybe cut it in half by the time the month comes to an end. February outlook is something that I now want to jump into. I think you're going to find this pretty interesting. So just out is the brand new from NOAA and the National Weather Service, their national outlook for the month of February. Now notice the Pacific Northwest for temperatures were below normal, expected to be. Again, this is for February. We're in this large below normal area, Oregon, Washington, back to the Dakotas. The same area, for the most part, is expected to be wet, above normal precipitation. So that would be good news, right? Remember the snowpack down a little bit up on the mountain right now? You figure a cold, wet February, a lot of that would be snow at decent snow levels on Mount Hood, and we'd start to build things back up. So that would be great news. Couple maps to finish. Looking at the European model, this is January 31st. And by the way, the American model and the Canadian model and the Euro model, the big three, if you will, they all agree that the last couple of days of February into the first part of, the last couple of days of January, this is January 31, into the first couple of days of February, that we'll get cold and active with a run of some heavy precip over a period of maybe 5, 6, 7 days, and some cold temperatures with snow levels potentially at least flirting with 1,000 feet. So what you're looking at here is the upper level map at 18,000 feet, 500 millibars. And see the green? That is a cold flow pattern allowing Canadian air to sink down into us. This would be a westerly flow, so it would be rain at the lowest elevations, but I mentioned snow levels would be quite low. So right now, confidence seems to be building, and it's been showing up for a while, that the last few days of January, going into the first part of February, that we'll get cold and really active. Everything checks that box still. Let's jump forward. Now, this is the Euro model only. The other models don't quite give the same definition, but something to keep an eye on. February 7, what I will call a snow low. See the upper level low? That's this contour with the 534, if you can really see well. But right here, notice how it's over Northern California and Southern Oregon. So when you think snow and you see a low system coming in, you like to be, if you want snow, on the northern edge of that low. That just is where the cold sector would be, and that's your best chance for precipitation. But that's certainly cold. And even if it wouldn't be snow, if it comes true, it would at the very least be low snow levels and big snows in the Cascades and some pretty driving rains here in the valley. So on that same date, this is the surface pattern. You looked at the upper level pattern, February 7th. This is a surface low. The surface low currently has offshore. This would not be exactly right, but it has it offshore. So remember, if you're on the bottom of the surface low, that's a westerly flow coming in. That's a rain pattern at low elevations. But once you get on the northern fringe, now the circulation around the low brings in an east wind, and east winds for us draw cold air out of the gorge, and that would be potentially snow at the lowest elevations. Now, we're a long ways away from seeing if that is going to come true, and maybe they will and maybe they won't, but it's certainly an interesting talking point. So I hope what you got out of this was, so far our water year is okay. Our Mount Hood snowpack is lacking a little bit. We need to get that up. There are no signs, none, that February is going to be quiet and warm. There are a bunch of signs that February is going to be active, meaning wet and cold, and all models agree that at least going into the first few days of February, we will see some relatively low snow levels, and our temperatures will be on the chilly side. So food for thought, as they say. We'll see how it works out with a cold, wet February in the outlook for now. This is my YouTube channel. If you like it, hit subscribe. Usually I post daily updates for the forecast once a week. I'm going to do these breakout elements like you just saw. Tell your friends about it, and thank you for watching.